Media, the heart's invisible puppeteer. We're taking a long, unflinching look at one of the most pervasive and insidious institutions in our world, the media itself, and how it sits right at the heart of the hierarchy of control that governs societies from the top down, especially in its ruthless power to steer our deepest emotions. Before we continue this examination of the hierarchy and media's role within it, a brief note. If any element of this analysis resonates, be it a pattern revealed or an emotional truth uncovered, consider sharing the episode with others who might feel the same pull, and stay connected for forthcoming explorations. Let's start by laying out the framework clearly. At the very peak sit the elites who pull the primary strings. Finance, information, and even belief systems, including the modern form of organized skepticism that functions much like a religion. These levers allow them to direct everything below. And right in the middle of it all, embedded deeply in every layer, is the media, not as the neutral informer or harmless entertainer we're taught it is, but as the master manipulator of human feeling, the invisible hand that keeps hearts racing, minds numb, and spirits drained. Feel it for a moment. If you control what stirs people's blood, their fear, their rage, their longing, their despair, you control their every choice, their every inaction, their very sense of what life is supposed to be. That's power at its most intimate and devastating level. The media doesn't just report reality. It manufactures the emotional weather we all live under, day after day, until we forget there was ever any other sky. Now, follow the hierarchy downward and watch how perfectly the media locks everything in place. The elites shape finance to pour endless money into media empires that serve their vision. Only stories that trigger the right emotional buttons get the massive amplification needed to dominate attention. Investigations that might awaken real outrage against the upper levels, those vanish into silence. Instead, the flow goes toward endless cycles of manufactured panic, petty outrage, and hollow desire distractions that keep the emotional energy of the masses spent on nothing that could ever threaten the pyramid. Information control flows straight through media channels like blood through veins. Certain emotional narratives are pumped out relentlessly while others are starved or poisoned at birth. The public is kept in a constant state of emotional busyness, scrolling, clicking, fuming, craving, while deeper truths about power, freedom, and possibility are framed as boring, extreme, or simply not worth feeling anything about. The distraction isn't accidental. It's the point. A population drowning in emotional noise can't hear the quiet voice of its own intuition. Even belief systems are hijacked here. The media has become the new temple where we go to feel righteous, terrified, hopeful, or superior. That rush of validation when the screen confirms your anger. That pang of fear when it warns of the latest threat. That warm glow of belonging when it tells you what everyone else is feeling. These are the modern rituals that bind us tighter than any ancient creed. Skepticism itself is turned into an emotional weapon. Feel smart for doubting the wrong things. Feel ashamed for questioning the approved script. The heart is captured before the mind even wakes up. Descending further into the institutional layers, the media becomes the emotional operating system for the entire control grid. In education, it supplies the constant background hum of stories that shape young feelings, teaching kids early that the world is scary, competitive, and best navigated by staying distracted and emotionally numb. Generations grow up fluent in trending outrage but strangers to genuine wonder or sustained focus. The justice system leans on media to decide which emotions are permitted in public view. Approved stories inflame selective fury while burying others in cold indifference. What the media declares worthy of collective tears or rage becomes the emotional law of the land. Alternative realities are dismissed as heartless or crazy, removing them from any chance of real human response. Corporations weaponize media most shamelessly. They fund the emotional hooks that protect their markets, ads that stir envy, news cycles that manufacture urgency around products, entertainment that normalizes endless consumption as the cure for inner emptiness. Health, relationships, purpose, all reduced to emotional quick fixes that keep people poor in spirit and rich only in dependency. The incentive is clear. Keep the heart chasing shadows so it never turns toward real liberation. The military waits in the wings, but the media prepares the emotional ground. It stirs the right fears and patriotisms when violence is needed, framing destruction as noble or inevitable so that hearts don't rebel against the cost. Science, culture, even patterns of crime, all get their emotional coloring from the media brush, making the unnatural feel normal and the normal feel unbearable. At the heart of it all is how the media operates internally. It isn't about informing or enlightening. It's about engineering emotional dependency. The day-to-day reality is endless stimulation, fear spikes, anger loops, desire waves, distraction loops, designed to keep people emotionally exhausted. Careers, ratings, influence all depend on this emotional churn. When real stories threaten to break through and stir inconvenient feelings of empowerment or clarity, they are buried under an avalanche of newer, louder emotional bait. Sensational headlines, doom-scrolling formats, algorithmic rage bait, these aren't flaws. They are the logical outcome of a system whose primary goal is emotional capture and control. The audience is kept busy feeling everything except the one thing that could set them free: calm, focused, righteous anger at the structure itself. The media steers emotions with surgical precision. It tells you what to fear so you beg for protection. It tells you what to hate so you never look upward. It tells you what to desire so you stay chained to the marketplace of illusions. It tells you what to feel guilty about so you remain compliant. And when genuine hope or clarity begins to rise, it floods the channel with noise until the feeling drowns. Feel the exhaustion in your own chest right now. That constant low-grade anxiety, the quick flashes of anger at strangers, the hollow craving for the next hit of entertainment or validation. These are not natural states. They are engineered. The media doesn't want you peaceful, clear, or connected to your own power. It wants you emotionally reactive because a reactive heart is an obedient heart. A distracted heart never notices the pyramid above it. One observer of these dynamics put it sharply: the real purpose of the media establishment isn't the fearless pursuit of truth, but the daily manufacture of emotional weather that keeps the masses compliant. Another noted that when media becomes the central nervous system of society, it begins to serve the controllers first and human feeling second. So where does this leave us? The recommendation is simple but urgent. Reclaim your emotional sovereignty. Don't let the screen dictate what your heart should feel. Step away from the noise for long stretches. Sit in silence until your own feelings return. Question every story that tries to hijack your fear, your rage, or your desire. Seek out sources that calm rather than inflame, that clarify rather than confuse. Teach the next generation that real power begins with a heart that refuses to be steered. The hierarchy relies on our emotional addiction to the media feed. By guarding your feelings with fierce tenderness and refusing to hand them over to the machine, you begin to break the spell. That's where real freedom begins, in the heart that chooses what it will feel and why. Keep feeling deeply, keep questioning the source of every emotion, and stay free in your heart.